Recording in progress, sorry. So where were we? 10, yes. Domain 10, learning, instruction, and assessment. That is your application of all of the domains that preceded us. Solar systems, cell structure and process, diversity of life, all of those content areas, right? Units, if you will, of science. Your ability, so that's about your ability to understand all of the complexity of science and concepts, theories, whatnot. How do you apply it in the classroom for the students via instruction and assessment? So that was at 50%, and so I would just do a deep dive in all, and there's not that many, so it's just and it is very important, and it will help you better answer your understanding of learning, instruction, and assessment will help you better answer the rest of the questions as well. So let's take a look at where would you like to begin, because I'm going to right now, what we just did is we assessed and like, because we have to do this first, right? This is like the first thing that we have to do with each other. Sorry, I'm removing that from there. That we have to do with each other in order for me to be able to understand where your needs are, to better instruct you as a teacher, right? So too, in the classroom, we think of assessments as tied to grades and report cards. And yes, we do give grades and report cards, but that's not at all the purpose. And sorry, I'm going to move this out of here as well. That's not at all the purpose of why. It's not at all the purpose of assessments. We assess, and we assess in myriad ways in order to better instruct our students, to see, are they mastering whatever science objective you have for them for the day, whether it's a chemistry one or whether it's one that's for physics, environmental sciences, whatever the case may be. Are they achieving mastery? We have to, because it is our job. In the real life example, I did not master many of the TEXES for chemistry in high school, in like 97, 98. I graduated in 2000. So in college, I felt the deficit in a very competitive school, UT in Austin, in an organic chemistry class. I was like, I know nothing, and it was very uncomfortable. And so, yeah, it's important that we take the time to not just be experts. Here it is, not just be experts, but to be, really great educators. Like, it's pedagogy, and I don't know how you would say it in a scientific way, like, but it's a science in it of itself. It's dealing with humans, which are, they're variables, they change on a daily basis. A student that's doing really well could experience something traumatic, and there could be that effects. And so it's very complex. But science tells us particular practices, particular things help students, and then even more specific, certain students, if they're learning a language, right? If they're special ed, if they're, socioeconomically disadvantaged, like particular things we can do to make those diverse populations successful and able to achieve our science objective. So what I'm going to do with you is something you would do with your students. I'm going to model how I want for you, because I certainly won't be able to go through every single competency that needs a deep dive with you. But it is my hope that you will sort of use my studying strategies in your application. And then later, I'd like to get together, if it's possible, because I don't think we'll have time today, to actually go through, and we'll look at this in just a little bit, because I'm going to bring up the different competencies. But I'm going to show you the standard. So this does the breakdown. So physics and chemistry are really big chunks. And so chemistry was one of your lowest areas. It would be the one I really did a lot of work in, and go into the physics, because this is the bulk, 40, not the bulk, but it's a big chunk.
Oh, I mean,
And
biology is still 24.
excuse me?
Biology is still 24%.
Yeah, that's true. Biology is 24%. You're absolutely right when you add it all together like that, for sure. Yeah, and I guess I'm just used to them that I don't even think they have biology classes. They call it something else now. What do they call it?
I wouldn't know. I mean, that's how I've known it my entire life.
Yeah, we used to have,
Life sciences?
maybe it's life sciences now, possibly. Because I took biology as well, biology AP. I wonder if they have the AP exam. Anyway, yes, 24% physics, chemistry, and but the different areas within that we discussed that were particularly low, like the one that is worth the one that's worth 9% of in biology is at 45%.
Yeah.
So that's a big chunk, right? And here are the standards. I'm going to show you the standards as well. I gave you access to this folder, correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
I was able to open it. I went through it,
okay.
just skimmed it.
Yeah, for sure. So what I wanted to show you is this first. So here are the different domains that we just looked at, and which of them you need to work on already. And I'll send you, an email, a follow-up email with your stuff as well. But if you'll look at the standards on the right-hand side here, they're listed from the science document. And I think it's really important to take a close look at those when you are also, oh my goodness, also doing your deep dive.
Yeah.
So, because every single content area that there is, theater, family consumer science, trade, they all start, and I watched it happen with science of teaching reading, right?
Yeah.
Oh, look, they barely changed, they changed the standards now so that it's and that's when I graduated. So I don't know, that maybe I graduated in 2000. So maybe that's when they changed the wording or the grouping. But they often change. If they change the standards, that means they're going to change the exam, because the standards are what is sent off to the test maker in order to create the exam. Mm-hmm. So this is very important for you to read through it, to be familiar with it, and to be able to do all of the things listed here. We'll take a look at it. Let's see. Here are the standards. Standard one. And so in order to know how they're grouped, you have to use that other, you know what, I'm going to just this down here. Go back really quick, and we're going to look up one of the domains. Or I'm going to take a picture of it like this. Oh no.
And just a question.
Yes.
How long does this really take? When would you say, I mean, without really saying anything concrete, how long would you say until I'm able to really take it again?
Well,
estimation wise,
I mean, that's entirely up to you. So, I'm probably going to ask that you take that practice test again as a after you finish studying, like right before, like after you finish, maybe at the end of it, and see how you do on that, and utilize your own self-assessment, because you were the best gauge. Like, I can show you the testing strategies, we can talk about best practices for the classroom, I can do all this stuff, but it's up to you, because you know how much work you've put into it. You know if things are clearer than they were before, and how prepared you are. I have some people say, after working with me a couple of times, I feel like I'm ready, and I feel like they're ready too. But you are your biggest gauge, and your best gauge, really. So that's what we'll use. We'll use that exam after you've done all, your deep dive and whatnot. And you take the test again, and we'll have a conversation.
Okay.
Because I want you to be able to take it quickly too. So it can be a fast turnaround, it could be, it's however much you put into it. If you tell me in 3 days, Miss Alceda, I'm done with my deep dive, can we go over test like questions, or should I take the test and go over test questions? And so if you take the test, and do they let you go back and look at the questions?
No, they just, no, they don't. They just give you the report.
Okay, they just give you the score.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what you saw.
Right. Okay, well, even that's useful. So we'll see how you can compare and contrast if you've made gains in the area, that you need, and if new areas popped up. And then I'll after that, I'll open it up to sign up the test. Actually, let me see. It's just difficult because Teacher Builder usually only pays for one session of like private session. And like, I don't want for you to have to pay out of pocket.
What do you mean?
For tutoring, you know what I mean? Teacher Builder,
Like with you tutoring, or?
yeah, with me.
Okay.
Yeah, to go over the questions and whatnot, because I feel like we're going to run out of time to do that. We only have about 10 minutes left, and I haven't even shown you how to do the stuff because we were analyzing your stuff, your data. So if you're available, because I'm just trying to get you to a place where I can feel comfortable having Christina, Miss Cardenas, open it up for you, and we can still do the study time during because I'm when did you take this exam, or when did you receive the results?
It's been a month already.
Oh, so it's already been 45 days.
30, yes.
30 something. Okay, so well, it's soon. I would say within like the next couple of weeks you can sign up for it.
Okay.
Yeah, so here's where it tells you which ones, like you said, oh yeah, scientific inquiry and processes, that's about safety. Yeah, standard 1 is safety. So it's standard 1 through 3. And then these standards all 10%. And here you have standard 8 is worth 20%. And then it's worth another 20% again. So how important is, so standard 8 actually is worth 40%. Whatever standard 8 is, we will look at it in just a bit. And then you have standard 9, and it is worth what, 24%?
Yes.
So standard 8, standard 8 and standard 9 of that document we were just looking at is so important for your success in this exam. It's already, those 2 standards are worth 64% of the exam. Yeah, it's a really, really big chunk.
Okay.
So let's go back to the standards. Now we know that which one. Oh, I forgot. Made this a picture so we could do this side by side. I'm so smart. Not really, because it won't go away. Done. So let's take a look at, what was it again? Standards 8 and 9, I believe, right? So let's discuss, before Yesenia gets back on and kicks you out. Let's discuss the way that I want for you to look through these. So a deep dive is for you, preferably to print these out, or if you're someone who can write on things digitally and that's cool with you, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm going to write on it digitally because I have no other choice. So in standard 8, the science teacher knows and understands science content appropriate to teach statewide TEKS in physical science. So that means the TEKS, and for you to appropriately teach them, is all what this standard is about, your TEKS in physical sciences. And that means, you know, physics and chemistry. So on the left-hand column, you have teacher knowledge. This is what you need to know before you get into the classroom. All the science knowledge that you need to have. You take a look at 8.10K, that's the knowledge standard. It has to do with motion and forces. Motion occurs when a net force is applied, and gravitation, electricity, and magnetism are universal forces. So you have to know about each of those things. And if you can't just like conversationally explain to someone what magnetism is, or what gravitation is, what net force is, then you need to look up those terms and define them on this document. Yeah. This is your Bible for teaching. This is your content area. So make it your own, make the notes as you're Googling resources, other, expert teachers, physics teachers showing you, how to best understand these concepts. If you scored low in that area, and which one it is based on the, based on the competencies. Yeah. This is not a deep dive on the competencies. This is in addition to the deep dive of the competencies. These are your standards, and the competencies are rearranged to and sort of regurgitated in the competencies, the standards are. So the way that we understand this, the knowledge side, very important, but it's highly unlikely that you are going to get a lot of knowledge questions where you'll have to sort of like define or choose. They're not going to, that's very basic Bloom's taxonomy. It is going to be your application of that knowledge, all of the knowledge standards. The teacher will be doing something for them, the right-hand column, always. Yeah. They'll be applying all skills specific for EC through 4 using content and context. They'll be creating or interpreting graphs. They'll be applying Newton's law. They'll be doing one of these things in the classroom. So in a instructional scenario, doing. And this is a more, if we're reviewing Bloom's taxonomy, not past just knowledge skills and basic comprehension, recall and comprehension, to complex, extremely complex application. Because when you talk about differentiation of instruction, and when we create lessons that do differentiate, it means that you are taking into account all of the varied differences in all of the humans in your classroom, their strengths, their weaknesses, their skills, their learning preferences. Are they visual learners? Are they tactile? Their cultural, their just a mere language, ability, physical disability, and other, all of that into consideration to apply that knowledge to best tweak a lesson to serve the large population, to serve all students, to be appropriate for
Yes.
all students in your class. So this is how you read this document. Left-hand side is going to be all that like content, sort of knowledge, recall skills that it's important for you to know. And if you can't define it or articulate it like you would in conversation with someone, then you don't know it well enough to be able to identify what is right and correct. So use this, write definitions on it, questions, and then really also read through the right-hand column and make sure that you can visualize what the teacher is doing in that particular skill, in that application of their knowledge. What are they doing? How are they applying this to that? That visualization is a reading skill and a learning skill. This that I'm doing right now with you, I'm modeling to you how I would like for you to annotate your text. I want you to dialogue with the text. And this is you, you know, not just doing a deep dive in a review, but by having you print it out, having you write and highlight. It's a tactile experience, that dialogue with the text, you understanding, oh, this is what this looks like over here. I wonder what this is. Ask Miss Salceda. That dialogue helps solidify it in your brain, and all of the, you know, neurons are getting excited, and you'll be able to do it better on the exam. So that's how you utilize this particular document. And like I said, very deep dives on standard 8 and standard 9 for your purposes. And we're just going to look at standard 9. So it begins here, physical science, and it's physics, right? We know it's physics because the overarching like subcategory is physics, right? Physics, and then it's all about physics. So then we have under chemistry, and that was your weaker sort of section, domain, if you will. So deep dive into this, but it's not just, sorry, it's not just this. Oh, that's so small. It's also taking into consideration your science TEKS. So you want to look at your standard and the TEKS at the same time, which is kind of why I want you to have the standards printed out and use them to study, but and like go through the TEKS and see, okay, I know what I need to know overarching. What do the students need to leave me knowing? Because it goes into more detail as far as, you know, what might appear on the exam. So because it's 7 through 12, do you need to look in the middle school subchapter?
I would say no, but I wouldn't really know because I assumed, I mean, it's still the same subject, isn't it?
Well, it's science 7 through 12. So it is the same subject, but you actually do. So, and so not 6th grade, you would go to, because we don't, they should be in their science classes, they acquiring skills in their 7th and 8th grade class that will prepare them for like the math and the other skills. And so it does cover 7th, and 8th grade TEKS. So, and you'll see how it still will be. So they might say, you know, Miss Salceda's 7th grade science class is, you know, investigating different types of scientific studies, like different ways science is used, different fields. Yeah. Which of the following activities would be the most appropriate for, you know, for her students? So I know they're in 7th grade. And so that gives you clues on how best to answer it, because it's not just about science. It's about where are the students in their development. And so if they say 7th or 8th grade, know that that's, middle school, and that they need a lot of like support in middle school. And but we begin sort of laying it out for them to branch off into those separate classes
Yeah.
instead of just overarching science class like they've been used to since elementary. So 7th grade science is interdisciplinary in nature. However, much of the content, oh my goodness, focus is on organisms and the environment. And why is that? Probably because they have to take like life science when they're freshmen before they take chemistry and physics and whatnot, which is why that's there. And we will continue this later. And what I was going to say is that I'm going to be, and I have this week, but I just haven't made a flyer because I'm bad at it, but I'm going to be making a flyer to post in the curriculum and the Teacher Builder website for my office hours, which will be free to any students Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 11 a.m., which is what I was going to get to about sort of circumventing having to pay for another tutoring. If you want to come in and there's nobody else in there, since it's new, I haven't gotten any traffic, but I'm sure once I properly announce it, I will get traffic. So if you want to pop in during those times, it's going to be the same link. This is my tutoring room or my office hour room. Personal meeting room. If you want to do that, then you're more than welcome to. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 to 11, so we can go into a little bit more depth. How does that sound?